Have you ever wondered what would drive someone to just stare at a wall? Not for an hour, not for a day, but 9 years straight. It sounds insane, right? But believe it or not, every single Kung Fu movie you've ever seen, from Bruce Lee to Jackie Chan to modern blockbusters, exists because of one stubborn monk who refused to budge. I'm Matt, and today we're diving into a story Hollywood never tells you. The monk who sat for 9 years, lost the use of his legs, and in the process gave us Kung Fu, brought Zen Buddhism to China, and may have even given the world tea. This is the incredible tale of Bodhidharma, the prince who became a legend. Now, everyone loves a good origin story. Batman had his cave, Spider-Man had his radioactive spider. But Bodhidharma, the man who the Chinese would later call the blue-eyed barbarian, his origin story? It's on a whole different level. Born into royalty in ancient India around 440 AD, Bodhidharma was the third son of the powerful Pallava king. That meant he grew up with everything: wealth, luxury, servants, the best teachers. A life most of us can't even imagine. But there was something different about this young prince. While his brothers trained in warfare and politics, Bodhidharma would sit quietly for hours, lost in deep questions. Why are we here? What's the purpose of life? These weren't idle musings. These were the same questions another Indian prince had asked nearly 1,000 years earlier. That prince had become the Buddha, and his teachings were slowly spreading across Asia. But in China, something was missing. And Bodhidharma, as fate would have it, was about to fill that void. One day, a wandering Buddhist master named Prajattara visited the palace. The moment their eyes met, Prajattara saw something in young Bodhidharma. This wasn't just another spoiled prince seeking enlightenment to impress the court. He had real potential. So Prajattara told the king something unthinkable. Your son isn't meant to rule. He's meant for something much greater. Now imagine that, telling a powerful king to give up his son, not for another throne, but to become a monk. Most kings would have thrown the master out on the spot. But incredibly, this king agreed. What happened next would make even today's billionaires pause. Bodhidharma gave up everything. Not just his gold, his palace, his title, he even gave up his royal name. All to pursue a higher calling. But first, he had to train. Not for weeks, not for months, years. Intense mental training that would have broken most people. Meditation that twisted the mind. Physical endurance that wore down the body. All to prepare for a journey many believed was impossible. Think about this. Next time you complain about a 5-hour flight, Bodhidharma sailed 3 years across 2 oceans in a wooden boat. No GPS, no storm warnings, battling massive waves and pirates. It was a trip that could easily have killed him. But eventually, he made it. When Bodhidharma arrived in China in 527 AD, the country was in the midst of a golden age. Buddhism was thriving. Monks and merchants traveled the Silk Road, exchanging new ideas. And when word spread that a mysterious blue-eyed Indian monk had arrived, it caused a sensation. Everyone wanted to meet him, including the most powerful man in China, Emperor Wu of Liang. Now, this wasn't just any emperor. Emperor Wu had poured his heart and his fortune into spreading Buddhism across China. He'd built over 500 temples, housed tens of thousands of monks, and spent years studying Buddhist philosophy. He believed he was the greatest patron Buddhism had ever known. So when the emperor invited Bodhidharma to court, he expected, well, admiration, maybe a little reverence. But the meeting would go down in history, and not for the reasons the emperor hoped. Emperor Wu asked his first grand question: what is the source of all creation? Bodhidharma? He laughed. What a foolish question. Ask something else. You could hear a pin drop. No one, No one spoke to the emperor like that. The emperor, trying to keep his cool, asked again, "Then tell me, what is the source of my own existence?" Bodhidharma laughed even louder. "That is an utterly stupid question. Ask something else." Imagine it. The most powerful man in China, used to endless flattery, being called out twice by a wandering monk. But Bodhidharma wasn't being disrespectful. He was teaching a deeper lesson. True wisdom isn't found in abstract philosophy. It comes from direct experience. Without another word, Bodhidharma turned and walked away. From the emperor, from the palace, from the entire court. Who does that? But for Bodhidharma, the imperial court wasn't his goal. He had something else in mind. A quiet, remote temple. One that would soon become the stuff of legend. The Shaolin Temple. Now, the Shaolin Temple wasn't the massive fortress you might imagine from movies. It was just a small monastery tucked away in the Song Mountains. But when Bodhidharma arrived, something extraordinary was about to unfold. He walked into the temple, found a cave, faced the wall, and sat down. And he didn't move for 9 years. Think about that. Most of us can't sit still for 9 minutes. He sat, eyes to the wall, through blazing summers and freezing winters for 9 years. Why a wall? Because a wall offers no escape, no distractions, no decorations, nothing to pull you away from facing your own mind. At first, the monks thought he was crazy. They whispered, watched, left him food. Some tried to talk to him, but Bodhidharma just sat, day after day, year after year. Then one night, something happened that would become legend. Frustrated by falling asleep during meditation, Bodhidharma, supposedly, cut off his own eyelids. Where they fell? The first tea plants grew. The monks would use tea for centuries to stay awake during long meditations. Is it true? Maybe, maybe not. But here's what we do know. After years of sitting motionless, Bodhidharma's legs atrophied. He literally lost the use of his legs. That part, absolutely true. And during those 9 years, something else was happening. Something that would change the temple forever. While Bodhidharma sat, the monks at Shaolin watched him, and they noticed something troubling. Their own bodies were getting weaker. Hours upon hours of static meditation with no physical training was taking a toll. Monks were falling ill, losing strength, even struggling to stay awake during practice. Bodhidharma saw the problem. And when he finally stood, after 9 long years, he was ready to offer a solution that would change the monastery forever. His idea? Train the body as well as the mind. And so Bodhidharma began teaching a series of exercises, movements he had learned and refined back in India. But these weren't ordinary stretches or calisthenics. These were purposeful movements designed to transform weak monks into strong, disciplined practitioners. That, my friends, was the birth of Shaolin Kung Fu. Now, let's be clear, Bodhidharma didn't call it Kung Fu at the time. He simply taught exercises meant to cultivate energy, strength, and balance. The earliest manual was called the Muscle Tendon Change Classic. Doesn't sound flashy, right? But this wasn't just a workout plan. These 18 movements blended breathwork, physical endurance, and martial application. Each move trained not only the body, but the mind. Monks practiced stances that built unshakable legs, flowing strikes that channeled inner energy, breathing techniques that calmed the mind and strengthened the spirit. Iron bridge stance, tiger's embrace, dragon's breath.
These were the seeds of what would later grow into Shaolin Kung Fu, the most famous martial art in history. At first, the monks resisted. They weren't soldiers. Why would peaceful Buddhist monks need to train like warriors? But Bodhidharma explained it simply. The body is the temple of the mind. A weak body cannot protect a strong mind. So they trained, and the training was brutal. Monks who'd spent years sitting in meditation suddenly found themselves working muscles they didn't even know they had. The regimen pushed them to the brink, but slowly something incredible happened. They grew stronger, healthier, more alert. Their meditation deepened, their focus sharpened. The mind-body connection became undeniable. Word spread. The legend of the warrior monks of Shaolin was born. Over time, these practices evolved, blending with native Chinese martial arts, growing into complex systems of movement and combat. And today, whether you're watching Enter the Dragon or visiting a modern Kung Fu school, it all traces back to those first lessons in that humble temple. But Bodhidharma wasn't finished yet. While Shaolin Kung Fu strengthened the body, he was about to launch an even deeper revolution, one that would transform the spiritual heart of Buddhism. You see, at that time, Chinese Buddhism was heavily focused on scripture, reading endless sutras, performing elaborate ceremonies, debating philosophy. The path to enlightenment had become complicated. Bodhidharma looked at all that and said, "You won't find truth in words or rituals. You'll find it by looking into your own mind." That was Zen, or as it was called in China, Chan, a direct, simple, experiential form of Buddhism. No need for endless reading, no need for lofty titles, just sit, breathe, see reality as it is. That famous wall gazing? It wasn't stubbornness, it was a teaching. Stop chasing enlightenment in books. Stop clinging to images of Buddha. Just sit. Just look. Strip away illusions. One story captures it perfectly. A young monk came to Bodhidharma and said, "Master, my mind is troubled. Please help me find peace." Bodhidharma replied, "Show me your mind, and I will put it at peace." The monk thought for a while and said, "When I look for my mind, I cannot find it." Bodhidharma smiled. "There, I have put it at peace." Boom. That's Zen. It sounds simple, but for the monks of that time, it was revolutionary. And it didn't stop in China. Zen spread to Japan, where it would inspire the way of the samurai. The fierce warriors found in Zen a mental discipline that complemented their martial code, Bushido. In Korea, Zen, called Sen, became a major force in spiritual practice. And later, as Zen spread westward, its focus on mindfulness and direct experience would influence everything from art and poetry to psychology to business philosophy. Why? Because it worked. Bodhidharma's message cut through centuries of dogma. Want to know your mind? Sit and look at it. Want to see the truth? Stop searching and just be. It's a message that resonates even more in today's noisy, hyper-connected world. But as Bodhidharma's teachings took root, something strange happened. The master, who had crossed oceans, stared at a wall for 9 years and transformed both Kung Fu and Buddhism, suddenly vanished. Poof. Gone. And this is where the story gets weird.
So, what did happen to Bodhidharma? After nearly 3 decades in China, after creating Shaolin Kung Fu, after planting the roots of Zen Buddhism, he simply disappeared. No records, no certainty, just stories. And oh, the stories are good. One version says jealous rivals tried to poison him, not once, but 6 times. The first 5 times, he survived. The 6th finally took him. But when his disciples opened his tomb years later, they found only one thing inside: a single old sandal. Another story? Even stranger. 3 years after his supposed death, a Chinese official traveling through the mountains between China and India spotted an old monk, barefoot, walking with a staff. Hanging from that staff, one sandal. When asked who he was, the old monk replied, "I am returning to India." That monk looked exactly like Bodhidharma. Then there's the wildest tale, that Bodhidharma didn't die at all, that in a cave, high in the mountains, he achieved final enlightenment, his body dissolving into pure light, leaving behind, yup, you guessed it, a single sandal. One sandal, 3 stories. It's like an ancient Chinese mystery thriller. Of course, there's some historical fact mixed into these legends. Ancient stone carvings from the Shaolin era do show a foreign monk, likely Bodhidharma, teaching both meditation and martial arts. Temple records mention his presence, so we know he was there. But how his life ended? That part remains a beautiful question mark. And maybe that's exactly how a Zen master's story should end. Not with neat answers, but with mystery, with a challenge to keep thinking. Where did he go? Or maybe the better question is, where are you going? Because the true legacy of this blue-eyed monk isn't in dusty history books. It's alive today, in the movies you watch, in the tea you drink, even in the mindfulness apps on your phone, even in modern martial arts. Every Kung Fu movie, it traces back to Shaolin, and Shaolin traces back to Bodhidharma. Every Zen meditation center, whether in Tokyo, New York, or Paris, carries his spirit of direct experience. Even science today is catching up. Studies now confirm what Bodhidharma knew 1,500 years ago. Training the mind is just as powerful, maybe more powerful, than training the body. Modern martial artists combine movement with mindfulness. Meditation is used everywhere, from therapy rooms to corporate boardrooms. His teachings on focusing inward rather than outward are more relevant than ever. Think about it. This one man, a prince turned monk, created a martial art that spread across the world, started a spiritual revolution that's still growing, showed us that the path to mastery lies in uniting body and mind, and vanished, leaving a legacy wrapped in mystery. And here's the big takeaway. If he could do that, cross oceans, stare at a wall for 9 years, lose the use of his legs, and transform both his mind and body, what could you do? What's your wall? What's the thing you could commit to, not for 9 minutes, but for 9 months or 9 years, that would unlock your true potential? That's the real lesson here. So if Bodhidharma's story sparked something in you, if it made you wonder what's possible, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Join us on this journey through ancient wisdom. And hey, drop a comment below. What's your theory about the mysterious sandal? Was he poisoned? Did he return to India? Or did he really dissolve into light? We've got plenty more mind-bending stories from Buddhist history coming soon, including a deep dive into Zen itself, so hit that notification bell so you don't miss out. And remember what Bodhidharma taught us. Sometimes the craziest sounding ideas turn out to be the most powerful. Stay curious, stay wise, and I'll see you in the next video.